Welcome to Live on Purpose Radio with Dr. Paul Jenkins, where you will hear inspiring stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Feed your mind with a regular dose of positive energy and show up for your life every day on purpose. Living on purpose means that you have a purpose and you do it intentionally. And now, here's your host, Dr. Paul. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live on Purpose Radio. This is Dr. Paul, the shrink who expands your life. We're promoting pathological positivity today at Live on Purpose Radio. I've invited a guest and new friend of mine. Although we've known each other for a while, from more of a distance, I'd like to introduce to you Kris Rohn. Welcome, Kris.
Thank you, Paul. Glad to be here.
I am thrilled that you're here. This has been a long time in coming for me for a couple of reasons, and I haven't even told you that whole story. But I'm glad we're making the connection here today.
Well, listen, if you've got pathological positivity on the horizon and we've got conscious creator, those are two peas in a pod.
We got some good stuff going on here. Yeah. Kris and I speak the same language. We know a lot of the same people. We play with some of the same principles, and don't get me started on peas.
No,
my listeners know this. Here's where we're going today at Live on Purpose Radio. Everyone has a purpose. Would you agree, Kris?
Absolutely.
This is something that I feel very, very passionately about. That because of our unique skills and attributes and interests and passions, each one of us is uniquely designed to create value in this world in a way that no other person can. And it includes our weaknesses and some other things too that we won't get into a lot today. But that unique package positions us then to do some really phenomenal things and to have a unique purpose. I recently read 2 of your books. The Conscious Creator is sitting right here on my table. And that one really spoke to me because of the theme that we've introduced here already today. The other one is called The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. Did I get the title right?
There's not enough P's in the title, but yeah, you got it right.
We can work on that. I know you're co-author. I'll talk to him about that. The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth, what does that have to do with living on purpose? And you know what? The purpose that we have requires an economic engine.
Correct.
Okay, now that I think I got that term from Jim Collins, from the book Good to Great. An economic engine to drive the purpose, the mission, what's going to take it out there. Kris, you are an expert on wealth. Is that a little weird?
No, it's not very weird. I think the only weird part about it is that wealth wasn't even in my stars or horizon. My life was all about mission and purpose until I realized, wow, without an economic engine, myself included, most people aren't going to pursue purpose until they can give themselves adequate permission. And what does that mean? Well, when you have an economic engine producing enough wealth in your life, that's when I find most people blossom and say, you know what? Maybe I can give myself, just maybe I can give myself permission to start living on purpose, living higher purpose. But it takes a certain amount of money for someone to, I think, be able to do that. Unless their career naturally fulfills purpose. It's just, I don't find that very often.
Which mine kind of does. In fact, people tell me, oh, you're so lucky to have a job you love. I'm like, lucky? I made this.
Yeah.
And it's around that purpose. And then that purpose has an impact on your economy, but there's this whole economic engine idea. Probably the number one excuse that I hear, and I'm going to call it an excuse. I would do that if
correct.
I had enough money.
Oh, I'd create this orphanage. I would create this art school. I'd spend my time doing that. You know, but no. Why aren't you doing
solve cancer?
Of course, it's an excuse.
Yeah. So you have found a way to take that excuse off the table.
Yeah. Well, you talk about economic engines, and you can quantify, Paul, every economic engine. Some business models have really tiny engines, and one of my very first mentors that I had, once I knew that I needed to create enough financial security that could fund my purpose, passion, he taught me, he says, Kris, economic engines come in all different shapes and sizes. If you want the fastest and safest and most least risk path, you need to pick a huge economic engine. And he suggested real estate. And I said, well, why real estate? He says, Kris, think about it. You could peddle soap at a buck a piece.
Right.
That's a tiny engine, and you'd have to enroll millions of people for that to be of enough value to actually give you permission to live life and purpose.
Right.
But if you pick real estate, that's a commodity that the average person deals with in their lifetime, but there's so many zeros attached that in a short period of time, you're dealing with low quantity, you're changing people's lives, and there's enough zeros attached that economic engine is so big that within short period, for me, 4.5 years later, once I got started on my path, I was completely financially independent. And I'm talking about starting from a place of real pain. I mean, tears in my wife's eyes, feeling like a pathetic man, a horrible provider, and really with no clue of how I was going to ever get to my mission. Yet 4.5 years later, I was producing my first 6-figure residual income because of the size of this economic engine and the system behind it. And, I'll never forget the day I walked into my boss's office and I quit. Well, technically I asked for a $70,000 raise, and he laughed just like that.
He thought it was hilarious.
That was my way of saying I'm done. And I've never stepped foot back in the corporate space. And yet I've probably never worked harder in my life, because you can't retire from real purpose. You can't retire from passion. Every day is just filled with doing what I absolutely love. And thank God there's the money there to sustain all of it in tremendous abundance.
Whatever you choose to do as part of your mission, you can create the freedom to do it. And this is, I believe this is one of the deceptions, Kris, because people start to feel like, I don't have choice. I don't have freedom. And I heard you speak recently about the American dream and freedom and how it's our responsibility to create that. And that lit me up, because there are too many of us who are captive. And I've been there myself. Where I look at it and say, oh my gosh, I can't.
Well, Paul, the world has changed. 100 years ago, we lived in an economic society where almost every one of us was an entrepreneur. We owned our own real estate, our own land. We were exercising our freedom. But Industrial Revolution that changed the landscape of the world. Today, 93% of us work for someone else, and that gives rise to the victimhood, because I am otherwise powerless to control the freedom of my own life, especially when now society says, punch in, punch out, that you're worth X dollars to me. We're not giving you a pension, fund it yourself. But by the way, put your money in 401ks and IRAs. And here's the funny part. Your money's not really working for you. It's not going to write you a monthly check. Someone else controls it. So technically, today's lifestyle of what we consider the American dream, not my American dream, says to relinquish all choice. And you're now a victim, because we tell you how to do everything in your life, and especially financially. We have abdicated nearly every aspect of control in our lives.
Can you just feel the founding fathers turning over?
Oh, in their graves.
In their graves, because that's not what they had envisioned.
No, well, it's not only what they hadn't envisioned, but they actually created a free society. And our freedom only remains free if we're responsible. So all these people living in that victimhood of, well, how do you expect me to get ahead? I made $80,000 or $60,000 or $30,000 this year. Well, you know what you're going to make next year, barring a tiny raise. You know what you're going to be worth 10 years from now. Pull out a calculator. You know what you're worth 20 years from now. The question is, will it ever be enough? Well, not in our accumulation society. So when are you actually ever going to get to the point where you're living higher? You're not. And that's because you can't get enough financial oxygen in you, and you're stuck.
Now, you started this adventure of yours when you were a young student.
Yeah, 22 years old.
22?
Oh, yeah. I went through a midlife crisis at 22.
At 22.
Yeah, it's funny, huh?
Yeah, you're what, 25 now?
No, I'm 34.
Tell enough of the story that people have the context here.
Well, just super briefly, I got down to this epitome of pain in my life, and it was this whole notion. I was an 8-year-old boy, received this very clear inspiration that of my 8 siblings, it would be my honor to care for my parents in their old age. And I thought, okay, I have to have enough money to pay for my family and pay for that family, my big family. And so I decided I wanted to be a doctor. I thought that would put me high enough on the food chain that I'd be able to cover and help both families, and went to college and very quickly found out through my weeder classes that I don't have a mind for science. It's not my natural gifts do not lie there. And long story short, I remember coming home telling my wife I'm not going to be a doctor, and I had no idea what I was going to do. The thought of any major, any degree, any job, I could already tell up front it wasn't going to satisfy this inner feeling that I wanted to fill.
There was some drive, some fire in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I met 3 mentors that had were all doing whatever they wanted with their lives. They were experiencing total freedom, world travel. We're putting foundations together. And I basically ended up developing a system that would create financial freedom for myself 4.5 years later. And it's a very specific approach to real estate. It led to a company, and now it's changed thousands of lives across the country. And it started with giving myself the financial permission to be in a space where I no longer needed to worry about money, so that I could then focus on that higher purpose.
So some of our listeners might be thinking, Kris is lucky. Kris happened onto something that was just so fortunate, and I wish I could do something like that, but...
Sure.
And then whatever stories they have going on in their minds. And I know that this is part of human psychology, is how we think. There's some special thing about that person. Address that.
Paul, if I hadn't seen it already happen thousands of times over, helping the wealthy, the doctors, the janitor, the school teacher, the single mom.
The student.
The student, yes. Starting from nothing. What I did is, the only reason why my system works the way it does is because it's duplicatable for anyone in any situation, but it's not get rich quick, and it generally takes 5-10 years minimum to create enough financial residual income from real estate to say, hey, I no longer need to have a job. I'm self-sustained. Now I can start living that higher life on purpose.
Right. There are many out there who are peddling these get-rich-quick schemes. You've encountered them.
Yeah.
I get opportunities all the time.
Sure.
To join another one.
There's an abundance.
Right. Freedom isn't free.
No.
Freedom isn't free. Is it going to take some work? Absolutely. Some passion, some commitment? Oh, yeah. And you've experienced that personally, but you've also had an opportunity to teach others or to create a system for others to plug into.
And it wasn't
even allow the same thing.
Yeah, Paul. I mean, it wasn't even set up to be that way in the beginning. It's. I just had so many people asking me because I retired. I moved into a custom-built home on the golf course and started traveling around the world. And after a year of people asking, it gave birth to me finding the answer to the question, Kris, what's your higher purpose? And I started one at a time helping people, duplicating my exact same result. And my intention is to create 100,000 self-sustaining, successful entrepreneurs. Anyone can do it. It's just a matter about finding someone who's serious enough to change their life and who's serious enough about funding their mission.
That number caught my attention, 100,000.
Well,
is that a big number, Kris?
No, I mean, that's a milestone.
That's a milestone because you're not going to quit there, are you?
Well, you can't retire from purpose.
Right.
Yeah, that 100,000 is that's our company's already working on contributing to its first $1 billion impact on this economy of putting families back in homes, putting people back to work, getting people's lives together, retiring people, creating financial independence. For some people, they're only making an extra couple thousand a month. One of my friends from 2.5 years ago now, last month made $85,000. Life-changing.
That is life-changing stuff. We'll get deeper into this when we come right back.
Live in a nice big house with Sony with a pool, but I'll be cool. I'll always have a gig, I'll be big. I'll have parties with friends, places to go. The only problem.
This is Kirk Weasler to tell you about morebetterbooks.com. Morebetterbooks.com is where you can find more better books for a more better life. Not only that, let me tell you about some of the very fun and cool select titles on morebetterbooks.com. you'll want to get a copy of The Dog Poop Initiative. This best-smelling book could change your life forever. It's certainly changed the lives of thousands of Boeing employees, as well as school teachers, parents, leaders across the United States and in Israel and in Germany. And you can get your own copy at morebetterbooks.com. Whoa, that's not all. What about The Cookie Thief? This classic tale told in a rhyming format, fully illustrated with very fun hidden messages. Pick up a copy now today on morebetterbooks.com. Other great titles there: Finding Your Pathway to Mastery, Beyond Illusions, Make It Great. These titles are only available on morebetterbooks.com. Go to morebetterbooks.com today and begin to have a more better life and live that life on purpose.
Thank you for listening to Live on Purpose Radio. We're so glad to have you here. Please come by the website, drpauljenkins.com, spelled with a D-R, drpauljenkins.com. On the website, you'll have an opportunity to receive a free download. And while you're there, make sure you click on the social media icons. Come over to Facebook, where we will be posting these episodes as well as our YouTube videos and other content and announcements for you to share. Please like us, comment, subscribe, join the conversation. We're happy to have you with us here at Live on Purpose Radio. Let's all support each other to live on purpose. drpauljenkins.com.
Success in any endeavor does not happen by accident. Rather, it's the result of deliberate decisions, conscious effort, and immense persistence, all directed at specific goals. Gary Ryan Blair.
Kris, during the break, I realized I haven't asked you straight up. What's your passion? And I'm assuming that you're going to not tell me real estate.
No, actually, my passion is for freedom. And, well, when we become free, then we have the permission to live the life that we want. You know, long before real estate ever came into the queue, what was really important to me, Paul, was there was a message in my heart about purpose and prosperity. The same message that's in your heart.
Hey, P words.
Yes. And I was going to be, and I wanted to share that. And I received very clear intuition that said, if you really want to share that message, most people aren't prepared for that message. So you got to talk to people from what it is they really want and what it is that they think they want. Well, either people today, they either want to lose weight or they want to be financially well off. So I said, God, help me become financially well off. And I found a deeper passion in real estate that worked for me. And that's what led to the whole system where the thousands of people I work with, I mean, most of them don't even care about real estate, but it ends up being a perfect passive vehicle for them to then live their purpose.
Right. Which is, and I'll do a little self-disclosure here. I shared with you earlier that I've been involved in real estate investing.
Yeah.
With some very expensive tuition that I paid for some very valuable lessons.
I wouldn't be surprised if other listeners feel that way.
I know that they do because I know these people.
Yeah.
And we've been involved in some of the same things. When I read your Straight Path book, I realized and recognized immediately what I was doing wrong before. Assuming that you're onto something that works, and apparently you are. So I was able to recognize those patterns. Now, I was a little gun-shy, and, Kris, I don't love real estate. So
Good.
What am I going to do?
I'm glad that you don't. Most people don't. You know, that's the mistake, Paul, in the first place. People turn to real estate not because it's their passion. They do it for money. And here's life lesson.
Right.
One of life's lessons. Anytime you go after something just for money, where you don't have a passion behind it or a purpose behind it, guess what? Yeah. Life's going to deal you a lesson that says you get to fail until you learn the lesson. Spend your time doing what God put you on this planet for.
I had one of my mentors share it with me this way. It's like hoarding copper wire when you go after money. The money isn't the power. The power is in the value and in the mission and in the purpose. The money helps to carry that, just like copper wire helps to carry power.
Oh, I like that.
Why would you hoard copper wire when what you really want is power?
Correct. Well, and that's what I tell my clients. It's like, let's be really clear. If you start working with me and I help you make a lot of money in real estate, real estate is not what you're after. You're after the safe, secure, passive residual income that says you can do what you want with your life. And if you have that kind of choice, then live that higher purpose.
You can do what you want. So that's what drives my practice, Kris, because I help people get clear about that. What do you want? Some people don't know what they would do with wealth.
Yeah.
You got to answer that question first, and then you're in position to go create it.
You got it.
Would you agree?
I completely agree. The fortunate thing for my clients is that many of them, Paul, they still haven't even figured out who they are. That's why I wrote this other book, The Conscious Creator, because I'm going to give people what they think they want, which is I'm going to put them on a path of real, true, proven, time-tested, track-recorded financial independence. And now I've created the permission to say, great, let's actually ask some of the more meaningful questions. I actually put on a 3-day transformational course based on the Conscious Creator, and the entire course, real estate isn't mentioned one time. It's all about you finding out who you are so that as you're creating the wealth, you can start putting your money, your time, your effort, your energy into that purpose.
Right. It's just like having the light in this room, and we don't care about all the copper wire in the walls, even though that's what brings the light to us.
Same thing.
Same kind of an idea. In the end of your Straight Path book, Kris, you put in a chapter there that I think gets people really directed in that way. And then the Conscious Creator follows up with that with just a beautiful story that encapsulates several principles that I think are key as people identify their purpose. So I'm excited about sharing this with people. I know that we've probably piqued the interest of some of our listeners today. What are you doing? What is this system? Can you give us just a nuts and bolts kind of a summary?
Yeah, I'll not only do that, Paul, but at the end, I'll let all of your listeners know how they can actually access a free copy of it. So anyone that would like, for example,
sweet.
to get the
Of the
book
book?
for free. And there's some other free gifts that I can throw out. I think that, listen, this is all about, does this resonate with you? Some people are going to listen to this and they're going to get value out of the high level philosophy and principles. This system may not be a system for them, but I'll certainly offer some free value and information. Freemium,
Great.
Freemium, free 99 value.
We'll
We're going to get started with the Fs.
We'll put a link up on the blog site too. That helps people to connect.
Well,
so share that with us.
Yeah, let me jump in. So let me go back. I got these 3 mentors dumping all their knowledge on me on real estate. And now I'm learning from the people that have been where I wanted to be. So that was the first key, is mentorship. But that's where I found out what my unique purpose is. They started teaching me everything in real estate, and I asked this question that none of them could answer. And the question was, well, listen, you could teach me foreclosures and flips and single families and rentals and lease options.
And I start glossing over right there.
And I just start saying, which one of these is best? Because I don't want to waste my time in the school of hard knocks making mistakes. And so I said, which is best? And they said, well, Kris, that's not an easy question to answer, because something that makes the most money could also have the highest risk. And I thought, you're right. So because they couldn't answer the question, I admitted to everyone here, I'm a dunce when it comes to science. Math ended up actually being a really strong suit in my life. I took another Weeder class thinking I might want an MBA. And I ended up taking a stats class and ended up being, out of a class of 200, number 1 in the class. I took that math that I just have it's almost a love affair. I love math. and I applied it to real estate. And I said, I'm going to not only ask the question, I'm going to answer it with an equation. And so I took all the real estate strategies and I put it into this custom-made equation based on 6 criteria. You want a system and a strategy that makes the most money, but also requires the least time, the least effort, has the least risk, works in up and down markets, and provides a service to society.
You can't find something like that.
Well, you know what? The entire book, The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth, is an argument for the single best strategy in all of real estate.
Right.
And
Coming from a numbers guy.
Yeah. And here's what it ended up being. The ultimate strategy was a hybrid concept on single family real estate. Listen, some people are going to roll their eyes now, but I'll give it to you, okay? Because I said I would. My strategy is a short-term buy and hold on single family homes purchased beneath the median with certain equity positions. In other words, I just described American dream real estate, 3 to 5 bedroom, 2 to 3 bath, own your own home, except really nice homes.
You mean the
homes.
places where American families live?
Yes, you got it. Mm-hmm. And it's the most desirable real estate. And I won't go into the science of why short-term buy and hold, but here's what was of value to me. Even though I had you almost caught it, had a passion for real estate. Mm-hmm. The reality is, once I had used the system to acquire my first 25 homes during that 4.5-year period, it produced my first 6-figure residual income. And next year, my 25 homes became 50, but I wasn't doing any of the work. The next year, 50 became 100, 100 became hundreds. You have to make it duplicatable, and you have to use leverage, and that only comes if you have systems. So
systems, yes.
I have a team of 200 experts today, Paul, that work with people all across the country, even internationally, and help people access the very best markets, the very best real estate. You know, I'm talking about homes that are entry-level, beautiful, practically new, that have, I mean, I don't even want to go into the numbers. If you see over the last several years the kind of money people are making in the system, and the safest money I believe there is to make out there, basically I have a team that will buy my homes for me. They'll line up all the financing for me. They'll find them for me. They'll manage them for me. So for me, the most ideal approach to real estate is a passive one where I'm 100% owner. It's all mine.
Right.
But the portfolio is going from 2 homes to 6 homes to 20 homes. And
you're a true investor. You're not a landlord, not a
handyman,
real estate bird dog.
No. Actually, that is why most people fail. Again, if your only reason for real estate is money, and if you're not willing to take 10,000 hours to become an expert, then don't be the do-it-yourselfer. That's the path to financial destruction, if I can say that even.
Can I just add my little testimony to that?
All right.
And I've probably said enough. So
yeah, no, it's good. And
you can try it on your own, and it's kind of like do-it-yourself dentistry. I mean, is it that dangerous?
It reminds me of Tom Hanks in Castaway using a skate to chip his tooth out. Yeah, and that's actually what real estate is kind of like when you do it yourself. So what we did is we created a fully turnkey system that said, give us 5 to 10 years. We'll start you on a path. We'll start with 1, turn it into 2, 3, 5, 10, and we'll do it all for you. We'll notify you when it's time to upgrade, expand, build, and what will happen over time is your net worth increases. More importantly, your residual income increases, and at some point, the residual income is consummate to your needs, and boom. Just today, I had freedom. I had 2 of my clients retire. One of them is a professor that had been trying to retire the last 3 years, worked with me for 2 years. He didn't want a 10-year plan. Worked with me for 2 years and was able to augment the missing income. And today is his very last day of school, period. Another one is a woman that works in a medical office as an assistant. She just resigned today because of the homes we've helped her buy in the last 4 years. So what are those people doing now? Oh, they're completely free to use their time to do whatever they want. But I know these 2 individuals, and what they're going to do is it's not going to be, spending all that time on the beach. It's going to be pursuing that higher purpose and higher mission.
Right. Get clear about what that is. Can I reiterate also, it's not for the money. The money is a necessary economic engine for your mission. Yes, let's just admit that and accept it. But if you do it for the money, you just spoiled it.
You got it.
Get clear about your purpose and your passion. Now, Kris, you can help people to get connected with the economic engine. And they don't have to have a passion for real estate. In just a couple of minutes to wrap up here, there's a number of different ways that people can move forward or get connected with you and what you're doing if this piques their interest. You mentioned some kind of an offer. What do you want to offer to us?
A couple of things that I think might be useful. The first one is any one of you are welcome to get a free copy of the book. You need a special code to download it, and I'll actually give it to you right now.
Oh, sweet.
The website you would go to is www.liveonpurpose.
I added that part.
I like it. .strongbrook.com. Liveonpurpose.strongbrook.com. And on that website, you'll be able to find where you can access a copy of the book, both in audio or in PDF, so an ebook. And all you have to do is enter the code FREE, and it'll give you that entire download. The second thing you can do,
Wonderful.
The second thing on that website is I offer everyone that's considering our system what's called a free game plan. I don't like to work with anyone unless I can show them specifically based on where they're at, whether it's a great place or a horrible place financially speaking, a free consultation to say, okay, give me 2, 5, 10 years, and here is step-by-step exactly, if I were you, how I would create that wealth. So if you go to liveonpurpose.strongbrook.com, in the top right corner, it says, give me a free game plan. You click on it, submit your information, and someone from my company will call and take you through a 2-step interview process to essentially get you all the information you would need. And I'm going to tell you what, Paul, most people exit that process saying, wow, I didn't think I had options. I didn't think I could do that. And it's very transformational financial experience for people.
Well, you said no matter what their finances look like, if it's terrible, if it's great, it just is what it is. And you can't start from anywhere other than where you are.
Yep.
And speaking from experience, Kris, as I went through some of my adventures in real estate, and I got myself into a position where I was not in a position to purchase additional real estate right now, your people had a plan that fits that as well.
Yep. That's actually the people. That's what I call my people, Paul. I started with nothing. And the people I feel most called to serve are people that are struggling and have the fewest of resources. Listen, helping a wealthy person become more wealthy, great. Helping an average financial situation become wealthy, great. But you take someone that has no money or no credit, and they're saying, oh my gosh, I need a huge financial reparadigming shift here.
Yeah.
I love working with those people. I actually designed a very specific system of how I can help people with no money, no credit, build a successful portfolio and get on top and win. And I
Just
love it.
Start from where you are, get a game plan, and move forward from there.
Yeah. So whether you'd like to get a free copy of the book or ask for a free game plan, or you're more than welcome to ask for both, because the universe is providing abundance today.
You're just feeling generous, aren't you?
Well, there's a lot of value behind that information. I hope it's useful for those with whom this message is resonated.
I'm confident that it will be. It's been valuable for me, Kris, and you'll notice from that link, liveonpurpose.strongbrook.com, that is obviously my affiliate link to your site. I have seen enough value in this, Kris, that I want to assist people to get connected with the economic engine to their mission. Now, this may or may not feel like a fit for you. That's fine. But for those of you with whom this resonates, and even if you want to get involved at a higher level, we're planning some additional things coming up where we can dig down to the nuts and bolts of what's actually going on in this system. How will it fit with me? If you want to contact me specifically about this, shoot an email over to Paul at drpauljenkins.com, spelled with a DR, Paul at drpauljenkins.com. What I will do is connect you with Kris, with the team that we're working with at Strongbrook, to explore what are some options for me. There's no obligation with that. It's just something that provides some value immediately and gives you some idea of where you can go with that. So thank you so much, Kris, for sharing that with us today and for your insights.
Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. When I was 18 years old, I nearly lost my life drowning in the ocean trying to save my sister's life. And I walked out of that ocean by miracle with my sister, knowing from that day forward that every day was a miracle. We don't know how long or short life's going to be, so today's your day to, if you're looking for change, today's your day to grasp freedom for real in your life. Do something monumental, leave a legacy, do something that impacts your life, but more importantly, creates value and changes the lives of people around you.
Yes. That's called living on purpose. Thank you, Kris.
You're very welcome, Paul.
Everybody go out there and live on purpose.